Greetings from somewhere. I am your host, Dylan, for this show about a book none of us like, but we're already wrist deep, so we're almost done. We are almost done. I put my foot down. We are going to be done by next episode, a nice round 10, and along with me on this torturous battle, which we thought would be fun, is Tommy the Spurg Snake. How is your afternoon, sir?
Pretty good. I got all of this done. I'm all caught up. Like you said, there's going to be one more episode. There's about 38 minutes left in the book. There's a couple more subchapters to 6, and then we get into Rex Viper stuff. Because I think that's like his close. He just like put that all in his filler. And it's going to time out pretty well because there's a show coming up. He's playing in... Sorry if I'm kicking that, my bad.
If any of the... I hope we get some firsthand account of that. Where is he playing?
I have to open up my Twitter. It's Phoenix. He's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona at a con that's coming up May, maybe?
So we've got that to look forward to.
Yes.
This description on this chapter, chapter 5I that we're getting into, I sent a nerd-like review for just this subchapter. All of chapter 5I can eat a bag of dicks and then perpetually eat the shit made from the dicks, so it eats dick shit until it dies. Almost got it clear to the end there, but that was a very Mike Matei, AVGN type of wording. I got so angry in this. Well, the entire time of the movie, I've been angry because James, from step one, you wrote a $200 million movie. Oh, yes. He starts off this chapter saying this book was to be a cautionary tale about movie making and the pitfalls that he hit, and then spends the entire chapter bitching about one crew member. He wishes him well. Ooh. He doesn't hold a grudge, but just spent 10, however many pages bitching about one single crew member. When I thought he was going to get into, I messed up from the beginning. I tried to, nope, just this one guy. When he's like, this cautionary tale, all right, this is what we've wanted for you to say, oh, maybe it was a bad idea making a $200 million movie on a $200,000 budget.
Yes, the crew member in question specifically, I think, is the prop master. They don't call him that at all. But basically, that's what he was doing. He was responsible for props and some practical effects and things like that.
I'm wondering if it is our buddy, I believe David Woodruff was his name. He is never mentioned in here. He is someone who is a big named person that I wouldn't expect to have such unprofessional behavior. He has worked on a whole bunch of other productions very professionally before and after. So David Woodruff was the most professional person he had in the special effects department. Never mentioned, but this person whose role could have, if he said this guy was in the costume, I know for a fact that they put their David Woodruff in the costume of the fucking guy, and it doesn't sound like the kaiju. It doesn't sound like this guy was put in the kaiju costume. So maybe David Woodruff just said, keep my fucking name out of your mouth. This is the worst experience I've ever had. Don't mention me anymore.
Yeah, it did not go well. He says best wishes, and then he says this guy does it his own way. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, does that sound familiar to you, James? That it's got to be done his own way. He just spent the first third of this book telling us how he was a rebel in college and he got a film thing started, and he argued with teachers to do things his own way.
I don't need to learn the basics. This class about basics, fuck that. I learned that when I was 10 and a half. So teach me the advanced stuff. Well, that's nice. You taught yourself the basics. How about if a teacher, I want to do advanced. I want to do advanced.
Yes, exactly.
And we are already into the chapter. I'll go ahead and introduce this.
Chapter 5I, non-delivery.
Did you have any subheading for this one? Any change? There's one.
Non-nerdery, because there's no nerd anything going on here. It's literally him listing out all the problems that he had, not just with the prop master, but with everything. He lists out all the bad stuff.
So he mentions that this guy was lazy. Just basically, this guy should have been fired the very first day. The very first day, there was shit not done, making multiple departments have to work harder and cover his mistakes or things that he just didn't do. And he was on the production for half of the filming, he said. So I was like, holy shit. Because I've learned sometimes it's better to have no one in a position than someone who fucks it up. And it was just example after example. When I reviewed the clips that I pulled for this, I was like, everyone is just the same thing of this guy fucked things up. But you were the lead of the film. You allowed him to continue fucking things up and making everybody's day worse. Because he mentioned it was like a little celebration on set of like, okay, hooray, he's gone.
Yeah, like that's exactly right. Him and Kevin were the two biggest people there and had the ability to hire and fire. And I'm supposing that neither one. Well, James is non-confrontational. There's no way he could get fired. But yeah, that's. The dude was draining their money. He was upset. He was supposed to do these box things, like they were going to do a stunt with some empty boxes. And it turns out they were James's boxes that he had already given him. Like he didn't go out and buy new ones. He made it seem like the guy squandered the money and kept all the stuff by the end of the chapter.
He was very afraid this guy was going to keep all the stuff as well. He ended up meeting with someone to take his place, and the guy was more excited about like tying him up and stealing all the shit back. That was
yes.
That was actually great. A fun story in a book that is very much missing fun stories. James and Kevin almost getting involved with gangsters who were more interested in like semi-torture and stealing shit back than they were in getting the job done. That was an interesting story.
Yeah, he prefaces that with, you can't make this shit up, but it's really close to the plot of Get Shorty. It kind of was made up. He's always paralleling things with movies and stuff, but yeah, like he made it sound like he was in the kitchen with this guy's wife she's doing the dishes and they're having like this talk at the kitchen table, like, yeah, we'll tie him up and throw him in the back of the van and you and your boys just go ahead and get your stuff back. Knuckle crack, Tony Soprano looking dude.
So I've just got one clip here of James complaining about this guy, since that's all this chapter was James complaining about this guy. And we told the fun story just more succinctly. Jump right there. That's one of the things to actually read in this book without it being painful. So here's a little movie clip. I got James all big. Usually that's Beepril's job, but I did it this time so we could see the movie clip.
His jobs had to be completed by others who were more qualified. He was in charge, initially, of supplying the alien head that crashes through the nerd's window during the dream scene. It was a very specific idea based on nightmares I had as a child of E.T. We gave him creative directions saying it needed to look kinda like E.T., but he just wanted to buy a cheap generic alien mask and stick it on a pole. Anytime you tried to tell him what you wanted, he would change the subject and dismiss it. Luckily, the alien head eventually got created by someone else who did a great job.
So that was the great job. I thought that was important to show what the great job looked like. And I'm on this guy's side of why am I wasting my time creating something when what you want looks like a shitty Halloween mask. The final product there looks like a shitty Halloween mask. So in this exact instance, I'm on the other guy's side of you're wasting my time doing anything other than a Halloween mask. What do you think? Do you think it looks great?
I can give it maybe a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10. It's not. Okay, hold on. Let me readjust it. Let me get my scale in my head. What would 10 be? Like Aliens? like the practical effects in Aliens.
Think of a
Or,
Roger Corman movie. Basically, Roger Corman could make some stuff look good. Sometimes it ended. That's the way that I've really compared this movie. Roger Corman did not want things to look bad. Sometimes when he got them, they looked bad, and he did the best he could with it. And James's jumping off point being, I want it to look like it's not really real. It's just baffling the fact he is a huge movie fan and thought that invites the viewer in rather than taking us out of the movie. He's repeated that, and as I'm saying it, I'm like, is it a cope? Is it something that he actually did on purpose? Because as I'm saying it, it's phenomenally stupid.
Yeah, I don't think he had any concept of how money worked. Because how much did that cost? Was that like a $4,000? Because the way he was talking, this is probably a $10,000 and plus, not puppet on a stick.
10,000? I didn't get the idea it was 10,000, but however much it was, I'd call it a day after getting a Halloween mask and putting it on a stick. It's still obviously on a fucking stick.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I mean. Like, it's like something just reaching in a window and doing a thing. And like you were saying, he kind of wanted shitty practical effects, which only works really, like, you can see how it's kind of lit there. It's almost lit like a black and white movie, but it's in color. So it gives more of the detail away, and you can't hide things in or like you can in black and white. You know what I mean? Does that, I don't know.
Roger Corman hid it in the shadows as much as he could.
That's why, like, when you see monster movies that are in black and white, they look scarier and better because the lighting is completely different. It looks like he's lighting it from the bottom. Like, that would be Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein is the name of the doctor, actually.
I actually never even thought of that, but if it weren't for the eyes, the eyes are the thing that throws me, that keeps it from being a 5 or a 6 and taking it below.
That's why I'm kind of like, maybe I'm even coming more back down on that, because it's the bloodshot eye with the blue in it. It's too, if they would have kept it black and mucusy and maybe red, then you would have, okay, it's a blue scary or a green scary monster bursting in. Even then, it's still cheesy, overpriced crap.
And there was a typo in the audio, in the printed version. It was supposed to, James read it properly. This has happened about almost half a dozen times. Not quite 6, but we might make it to 6 by the end, where there's a typo that James, in audio reading, fixed for the audio listeners, but it doesn't read, he didn't seem to realize. It reads, he to realize this was not a huge Hollywood level production, is a sentence you get in this book that, sure, some happen, but I feel like it's been too many at this point. One of the famous ones, shit, I didn't write it down. Our Cinemassacre Truth fans were well aware of I Was But Zombie, I Was But Naked, from the very first chapter, I believe it was.
Yeah, I don't know if my digital edition is revised or not. So, yeah, there are a few things like that are really
when you get the paperback version, that but the hardback, it's in there, pal. So that's all I have for the first edition. The second edition should fix those. Second edition. So anything else from 5I before we head to J?
Quick summary of 5I. It is at least 3 or 4 complaint lists long, because I wrote that down. He complains in a list form. Even more complaint lists. Even more complaint. He does it at least 3 times. He comes, and then this thing, and then that thing, and then boop thing.
Actually, that reminds me of a legitimate criticism of, like, it's someone saying it's not really him complaining. The way that it's written, it comes off as complaining. Like, yes, it should come off just like listing things, but it comes off as complaining. And also, we are not fair to James. We are coming at this from a Cinemasker truther type of view, where we're already giving him wedgies. We weren't going to stop and be fair from the beginning of this book.
Well, yeah, no, I agree, but it's not any worse than anything he's ever said about Jekyll and Hyde or Top Gun. The hazmat Mountain, they had to build a prop mountain, and the fire marshal came. Oh no, that's later.
Yeah, that's much later, because he doesn't say mountain there. He says mountain. I definitely pulled
Yes,
it
I
to
know.
be like,
Okay.
he says mountain. Yeah, you're jumping
Somebody
ahead.
correct. Oops.
Let's get to your notes on Jay as I get James to introduce it to us.
Chapter 5J, Time Runs Out.
There was time now. There was finally time now.
Yeah, no time. This is the crescendo of no time, in my opinion.
So this one starts out, the movie ran smoother when they fired the person who made filming more difficult for everyone from day one. Surprise, surprise. Bimmy no likey the desert. And
No.
I made a note that that's something that, if Bimmy and Kevin, if they would have known the script writers of this movie, they could have been like, oh, hey, we don't like the desert. How about, we actually can film in the Pine Barrens for very cheap. What if we made the Atari landfill like a body drop? People are familiar with the Pine Barrens from Christopher and Paulie dropping a body, attempting to drop the body of the Russian out there. What if they could have told, if they knew the writers, they wouldn't have had to force themselves to be out in the awful, terrible desert. That's unfortunate that Kevin Finn and James did not know the writers of Kevin Finn and James to make it easier on themselves or film with a budget in mind.
Yeah. And we get into backer extras in this chapter 5J.
Yes. It's a little bit later. He starts calling them the volunteers played extras. And I was like, what the fuck? The volunteers played extras. Oh no, your volunteers were the extras. That's what you're trying to, you worded that very oddly. And that was actually one of the days on my pilot that never was, a day that otherwise had no right being so expensive, but I needed a morning of a studio audience and you need bodies in there. So I like that blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, that was not where some of your budget was wasted. You just went into this with the idea, when we have a bunch of background actors, they're going to be people just volunteering for us. James had such this movie will just happen for me. It'll just be easier for me than he should have. That's wild. Congratulations. You got him to work for nothing. But actually, he talks about the fans here in my first clip. And you pulled some. This is where I have the video clip of our reference. You have the same reference at the end of the chapter. So some of the volunteers playing extras. The volunteers were your. That bugs me more than it should, that phrasing. But take it away, James.
Since the fans played extras, they weren't given the script and had no expectations. They were hearing it all fresh for the first time. So when I exchanged dialogue with Jeremy, like, do you know where Area 51 is? Between Area 50 and 52, they all burst out laughing. It gave me validation that the movie was funny. No! The movie was funny.
No! That's the only one I couldn't figure to work in, because that's definitely part of the Bimmyism. He's very much Stewart, as we'll also see later.
You had an easy audience there, buddy. They have been. Most times, extras are having a boring day. And this one, they are having a boring and hot fucking day. This actually reminds me of the day I was a background actor on the Orville. And it was like a medieval town, and we were wearing like burlap sacks, basically. The very first rehearsal, I make a cross, I walk over here, And then the main actors shift where I am, and they're like, okay, who are we going to need for these shots? I'm like, fuck, do it again. I'm going to be out in the sun all day. I need a break. Fuck. No, they're keeping it as is. I was just out in the sun all day. And yes, everything was funny when I was that delirious and bored. So you had an easy audience there.
Yeah, their brains were already fried eggs by that point. I make that point. They put the fan extras in a bullpen, basically, like the extra bullpen. And James was told to not go see them. And he's like, fuck, Dad, I gotta go see them. And really, it came off like he was like, I gotta bask in my fans. Like, he wanted to have the interaction. That's what he was looking for from all of this. That movie was gonna...
It's incredible for morale, though. I can tell you, coming from the background actor point of view, that was a fantastic idea of his to help keep morale up on this terrible, awful, hot desert day.
Excellent point. Because I was coming from the more egocentric point from that, where he's like, I gotta go see these people. They love me. And so it's like, hello, all you sweaty slobs, come hug me. But not too close.
Yeah, usually you don't...
not that close.
You don't interact with the main cast other than like in the scene. And then, if it's... it's very uncommon to interact with the main cast like that, beyond if there's something going on in the scene that you've been told clearly to do.
Excellent. Yeah, I like knowing that stuff.
This next clip is fun. We have the word of the day. James says the word of the day in this chapter.
It's amazing to me that all this magic happened on top of a deserted mountain cliff.
Hey! You say the secret word!
And then a shadow came across the land. The sun was setting behind a mountain.
Hey!
Days after we left the location, the intense heat and dryness caused a fire. The entire mountain went up in flames.
This is the hazmat mountain I was talking about. That's the mountain I was referring to. It was in this next part. Okay.
So I was disappointed that we had 3 mountains up to this point, but when they hit all in rapid succession like that, yay! Because I mentioned on 2 other occasions where I was reading and I was like, is he going to say mountain? Is he going to say mountain? Oh, he didn't say mountain.
I made a note somewhere else because he says the other one that I caught, continuity. I heard him say continuity because
I think I pulled that. I think I have it in order. I hope I did. I made a note of it to pull it, so I really hope we have continuity coming up.
That's one of my. So yeah, he was in the extra bullpen, basking with fans, hanging out. Like you said, good for morale, definitely in the baking sun. And it's a ton of poor planning. Soledad equal bad.
James.
More listings. This failed. That failed. There was just a lot of things not working.
I do want to mention Soledad because James had a very bad time. He hated it in the mountain, on the mountain on top, where it's even more hot. Just don't film it in the fucking desert. Talk to the writer yourself. This really bugged the shit out of me.
That's what makes
this movie did not need to be set in the desert, but in real life,
no concessions.
No concessions. No, in real life doesn't mean shit. The Pine Barrens, you can film in your parents' backyard in your big movie. Well, actually, it was sold by this point, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, you could do it again.
Wait, it does happen towards the end of the movie, I think, because he does talk about going back to film at his old house, and Mom puts the for sale sign.
Okay, that's what it's somewhere like right before or right after this. And I'm getting confused. I was starting to think maybe it was sold. It's somewhere in here. But let's hear James talk about Soledad.
No matter how many shots were missing, I vowed to never return to Soledad.
Have a great weekend. I will not see you back here on Monday.
Soledad O'Brien seems to be just fine with that, James. She does not have a problem not seeing you again.
Excellent reference.
And we mentioned the budget being gone, and here is the moment it happens.
We compromised again and again, shooting late past 3 in the morning, adding overtime pay for the whole cast and crew. I remember the look on Sean's face as he said to us, "Our budget, it's gone."
So going overtime in the desert, and James talked about some of the scenes that they needed to pick up and looked perfectly fine back in Pennsylvania, like him actually doing the review. No shots of him doing the ET review were here, but I wish I would have pulled that actually, because he said they look great. No, it does look like he's just in a black abyss. It looks fine, but it doesn't look great.
Right, and I think that's one of his signature tricks too, is to just film everything in a black abyss. He does do that later for one of the nerd videos.
It is better than the black
thing.
trash bags. We have seen some low-budget films with the black trash bags, so he has gotten the abyss effect down much better than some other amateur filmmakers.
Yeah, he gets a second wind here, right? Like, he starts to get his motivation back a little bit. He definitely says the line a bunch of times in this chapter. No time. It was just no time.
I forget if I don't think I made a compilation of that one. There was just so much going on that some of the ran out of time actually fit. I think that's another reason it didn't jump out to me. Running out of time here actually did fit and wasn't out of place, as he uses it so often and out of place.
Fair. That's why, I mean, this is like the crescendo. He's like using it. It's like at the peak, he's saying the line and it's in the proper form. And then later on, it's just like, oh, that'll just be my catch-all for anything. It's just, I don't have any time to do shit no more, man.
So I've got one more clip I've got one more clip, and then we'll get to your audio from this chapter. Yes. Oh, I've got two. I take that back.
Oh, excellent.
Maybe these go together. We'll figure it out together.
There's one last location with the main cast and crew. It was the Area 51 control room. We had only one day at this electric generating station to get all of our shots, and I spent the whole day as the nerd tied up in a chair, unable to direct.
So, luckily, James is a feckless director, so it wasn't that different that he wasn't able to direct this movie. And I think this is where your clip goes. You've got just the audio of all I think this was the list of all the things that needed to be done that day.
He starts to
we
wrap
filmed
it up.
car chases.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He starts to wrap it up, like where we're wrapping up filming, we're happy, we'll fix everything else in post. And he feels victorious because he got to do all of these Hollywood things, as you will now hear.
We filmed car chases.
Look what I can do.
And fight scenes with real stunt coordinators.
Look what I can do.
Shot an animatronic alien and Hollywood locations.
Look what I can do.
And I overcame some of my personal phobias.
I've been farting since we've been standing here talking.
And then it's very fun. For some reason, we both gravitated to Stewart from Mad TV comparing James in this chapter without talking to it right before.
Yeah, that's one of the good points to do that. Like, I'm glad that happened. Yeah. Do you want him to suffer? No. There's a few parallels. But yeah, it was very much look what I did. And he was very proud that he got to, and after seeing the alien, because you just heard it there, we got to film a cool alien and
in Hollywood locations. The Vasquez Rocks. He has not mentioned those by name. He had such a hard on the behind the scenes I saw for Vasquez Rocks, and
he loves them.
It was very unneeded being at the Vasquez Rocks. It was totally unnecessary, but that's where Kirk fought the Gorn. That's where Bedrock was with John Goodman. So fucking Vasquez Rocks.
That's what I mean. Like, it's been overdone. Like, most people recognize those rocks now. So like when you see them in the background of a movie, you're like, oh, I know where that is. It's not like Vancouver where everything's just white and pine trees. It can be any moon planet.
On this day where Bimmy is all tied up and they have all this stuff to do, he has a bit of a breakdown.
I was so emotionally defeated, I couldn't even say my lines. We had no time for anything more than one take, but I couldn't even get a word out. Then Stephen, the general, stepped over to me with a look of sympathy and said, "You know, I was Splinter on Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation." I knew that, but hearing him spontaneously say it awakened that fanboy nerd in me. As Stephen coached me, I imagined Splinter saying, "You must be strong, my son." And with that, I found the strength to get through my dialogue.
This veteran actor saw what needed to be done. He saw a man sinking, and just a simple, what can I do? And it fucking worked.
Yep. Yeah, I said get second wind a little early. It was above where I should have been. Yeah, he gets a second wind and he presses start to continue. He's back.
Something
in the game
that I
and he
made a
finishes
note
it.
of that we were bitching about last time. In parentheses, James says that this man played the general. He never once in the movie calls him the general. He feels he needs to clarify who this character is for us in the book. And in the movie, he always uses that stupid fucking name. And I'll go ahead and not repeat it. Like you said, I won't say the kaiju name. I won't say the general's actual name because it's fucking stupid. It sounds like a Star Wars character. And another thing that takes you out of the movie. The wordplay is actually another thing. The head of the game company is Bernie Cockburn. If that would have been one of few wordplay gags like that, I would have been in. But when we're bombarded with horseshit like that, and the McButter, I swear that the female character's name was Butterface until they're like, "Oh, that's too mean. Let's call her McButter instead of Butterface." And at that point, just use a fucking name, Nurse Diesel, General Diesel. That'll work.
Yes, exactly. And as you were going, see, I started drifting off because, but personally, like he says, his biggest villain is No Time, and he probably should have did an anagram of that. Could have been Timon, is an anagram of No Time. Machio.
Hakuna Matata, James. Time on.
But yeah, there's, like you said, he should have just gave them regular names. But the one, I refuse to say it because he says it in the book. If you've heard the audiobook, I can't even. The kaiju. I don't even want to. It's just the phonetic way he says it, and it drives me up a wall, so I refuse.
And that was one of the things from him and our buddy Matei, as James calls him throughout this book, except for
I made a note of that
a very
too,
few times. At some point, a little bit later, he calls him Mike a couple of times and then returns right back to Matei. And I wanted to hear about their buddy comedy writing years, and that's the only thing we didn't get in this book. That's
very little.
So fucking frustrating. We got so much about his each year in college, next to nothing about him and Mike and their process, and that's what I feel like most fans wanted to hear about.
Yeah, in a more in-depth way, because there is things here and there. Mike talks about making the cards in a video. I'm pretty sure I've seen that somewhere. And Justin talks about how they sat and wrote this. Like, that one was kind of short because he was like, yeah, just came in, made a song up, and there we go. You know, it was basically like real simple. So, but as things move on, like there had to be a more in-depth creative process from Mike and James both. I wish I was following them with a camera.
Jonathan E. Bass, Boaz, sorry. Still need to get my monitor fixed over here. Just pointing out, James thought that this running gag was hilarious with the general losing body part by body part. And it's the enemies are just always useless. He's getting his body part chopped off by a door closing on him. And I, in my rewrite, I kill a character. No one ever dies. No one is ever in danger in here. At some point, I was screaming at the screen at the movie, just kill her. Give this movie some stakes, for fuck's sake.
You give the characters motivation to actually want revenge instead of it just being a petty argument. And that's just coming from, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know exactly.
I am hungry for steaks after that movie because there are none at all. That's all I've got for 5J. Anything before we move to chapter 6? We are
Yes.
done with the J's after this.
Yeah, no, that's it. Pretty much, he wrapped it up. He's happy with how things buttoned up. Oh no, okay, he is going back home. He did fire a second person because somebody got toxic on set. I guess they punched somebody or they put their hands on.
Oh, that was the same guy, I think. That wasn't that the same guy?
Okay.
Yeah, that was still part of I. I think that's how they were finally able to fire that one person.
Yeah,
is
they
because
voted him.
I'm nearly positive that was the only person they fired, and that was finally why he got fired, is because he was physically threatening someone else. It finally came to that. Even though he needed to be replaced day one, it was until they were pushed to the absolute limit, like, oh, we can't have him back, in which they finally didn't have him back.
Yeah, it came up. That was the only other thing. Like, they voted him off the island, basically. And oh wait, there was some toxic powder or something in that mountain.
Yes,
and
the fuck up employee,
saves.
the fuck up employee in the little miniature, or whatever the fuck it was, had not just Hollywood dust, but yeah, toxic dust, and almost poisoned everyone. Still didn't fire him on that day.
No, yeah, right, exactly. I started to conflate that with another event that happens later when other people show up, but that'll be at the end of the chapter, or at the end of the video.
Yeah, we've got this is the end of this chapter, and final 2 episodes. Oh yeah, up front I'm supposed to say like, subscribe, notification bell, all that shenanigans. I also have memberships. You can become a rope shooter for $4.99, and I'm gonna have a co-host audition this week. I missed out on last week because I had a shitty Thursday night and was no mood for shenanigans. Thanks Luigi Greenberg for getting me in a happier mood. We'll have a show where we are drinking, watching James Randi videos this coming Friday on Luigi Greenberg's channel. Thanks for that, for sticking with me. Now back to the chapter.
Chapter 6, Fatherhood, Finishing the Film, and...
Yes, before... I do have a clip after this. So, yeah, a question.
Ray Pruitt fan club, is that what that is? That like the... Are we going to get... Because you're watching James Randi with Luigi, are you going to start forming the Ray Pruitt fan club with him?
The what fan club?
The Ray Pruitt.
The Ray Pruitt fan club. Yes,
yeah.
I believe that's what I've got my hours changing coming up in 2 weeks. I was going to get into that a little later, but yeah, Rumble.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking too far ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to bog the viewers too down in plugs. We'll get to that later, and yeah, I do believe we'll be doing that coming up. Hopefully, we'll figure out the day.
Chapter 6, Fatherhood, Finishing the Film, and Future. Section A, Home Again.
Oh, okay. Squidward is all I had there for that clip. The movie isn't kinda unfinished, as James says right here. The movie is intensely, extremely unfinished. And Bames has a pod filled with units, a pod unit filled with all the props and costumes, and they didn't even build the Kaiju City at this point. The Kaiju City destruction is supposed to be the big climax. It is not even built at this point,
right.
So he didn't even need to get that in the pod unit. And
he refers to all of that stuff as clutter.
Yes, he does.
Book. He's like, I got all this clutter from the movie. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That does lead into this clip right here. Storage. If I was a better host, when you took that drink there, I would have gotten right to this clip. But that's why I am a C host. Thanks for watching it, C Average Guy.
The moving pod arrived with our belongings, plus all the props and costumes we inherited. It took a week just to organize everything. I had to find places to store the props, filling my attic, my shed, every nook in my basement, and a public storage unit. All this clutter would be my reminder for the next couple years that I had a movie to finish.
So what was the monthly price on that storage unit, Jimmy? Just curious how much more money is wasted from your poor decisions.
Yeah, no kidding. Because that's at least 100 something a month for one of the smaller ones. Well, they're different everywhere. Yeah, and he complains that the movie started to consume his life here too. Like it followed him home. He's homesick of this shit. By a third of the way into this.
So James starts his monthly AVGN reviews again. Sorry for that little brain fart there. The Schwarzenegger episode is first up. I almost decided to review it for this episode, but we've already got so many clips anyways. I forgot to check it out at all. He was still producing good episodes to this point. Like, I can imagine him really enjoying it again, getting back to the simplicity of his video game reviews. He didn't really expound upon that, did he? It was just like back to, well, I guess he had too much on his plate at that point because he didn't stop the movie stuff. It's just he's back to his regular game making schedule and all this movie shit on top.
Right, like so he set himself up to even have less no time, and he did pick a good set to come back with. He wanted to review the license to movie games of famous actor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I did DM you in Discord the full quote where he says, "I returned with it." He says Arnie's last name very strange. It's another one of those Bimmyisms where he kind of just leaves out a syllable.
All right, I'll see if I can download.
It'll be the most
real
recent
quick.
one too. Yeah. I did cut it to make it sound like Bimmy's a little racist, but that's just fun in games.
Oh, that one. That one I do
that
have.
One you don't have.
Yeah,
you can play that one if you want first.
Yeah, I don't have that one downloaded right now. For some reason, it's being an asshole, because of course it is.
Oh.
But yeah, here's him saying that a little oddly.
Schwarzenegger games.
We're trying to stay monetized here, James.
Yeah, no kidding.
How dare you use such language?
I returned with Schwarzenegger games.
Oops, my bad. I didn't mean for that to play right away.
But okay, you got the full thing. I don't need to download it because we're talking as we're talking of James's funny wordings and all that he's got on his plate. You know what else can fit on his plate? A baby, full time.
Oh gosh.
This is where the chapter takes a turn. Let's get into this clip. Her dream. We haven't heard that one before.
But April calculated every possible detail about this child, from preparing her bedroom to her pregnancy schedule and ideal birth date. Seeing her plan this out so carefully was like watching myself go through pre-production on the film. This was her dream, constantly being postponed because of mine. AVGN.
The dog. Me.
This was her dream, constantly being postponed because of mine.
Didn't I have something just like this clip last time? You've already used that line before. We get it. We know. So she's got this spreadsheet detailing when James is allowed to come inside her so she can get the absolute optimal birthday. Let's just stay away from October, November completely. We don't want October 31st, James. No, I don't care if you're a Hollywood fan. That's bad luck for ladies, you fucking nerd. And
it's so weird.
At this point, she is a young, fertile 27-year-old woman, and like, I need a baby now. Actually, it's this next clip in which my Kill Bill alarm went off in my head. James uses a word here that just gets me. Dun, dun, dun.
The fact was, she had waited long enough. She'd been patient. She'd given me several ultimatums, so it was time.
Ultimatum. If you are not dealing with a drug addict, alcoholic, or someone who's just neglectful, an ultimatum is a word that really grinds my gears. So the fact that he's got this movie unfinished. He already lived his dream. But really, he didn't, because it's unfinished. Now, to focus on her dream, how about if James just stops being a father from the years 4 to 7, since his dream is incomplete, and we can move on to yours. And then for 3 years, James is going to take off of your dream to do his, even though this dream isn't complete right here. This right here is turning me against April when it's supposed to be getting us on her side.
Yeah, that totally went over my head that she was trying to plan a birthday. Like approximately 9 months later, this is when I want my kid's birthday to be. That's ridiculous to me. I don't know why. That seems weird. I bet a lot of people do that. It just
I bet you she's also one of these people that's planned this out so far that James, fuck no, I can't be 30 and have my first child. I won't meet my great-grandchild. I need to be in my 20s so I can take that cute picture with all our ages on it of all the different generations.
next to the wall, or next to the door frame with all the notches in it, where everybody was, what height they were at. Never mind, I'm getting into all that old family crap. Stop it. Yeah, that really, it bothered me. And I wrote you, and then did he say something about a placenta in this?
He may have. I have an ultrasound clip here. Let's see if this includes the placenta you're looking for.
Soon the ultrasound showed a fully recognizable baby kicking its legs around. Oh my God, it's alive.
Yeah, it's a mutated placenta that comes alive and takes over Bristol, and which is the Garth Marenghi reference. And then he goes on to mention the blob. Like they're somewhere.
What really made me laugh right there is that he's quoting Frankenstein, and he misquoted it there. In the book, he doesn't misquote it. There is no, oh my God, it's alive. But you're supposed to, it's your reference to one of your favorite movies of all time. And in the book, you got it right. But in the audio,
around. Oh my God, it's alive.
There's no, oh my God. You fucked up your own reference there, sir. I believe that's all I have.
Emoting, dude.
That's all I have for A. Do you have anything else for A?
No, that's where he sells he goes back and does a little bit of filming at the childhood home, and it's one less dragon in his dreams. His house is gone, and not just yet, but there's evil metal tongs in the chat. We will get
coming up very soon. A foreshadowing for chapter 6C, and I actually have no audio for 6B here.
Chapter 6, section B, the monster shoot.
I do have some notes, but I have no audio from this. So, not only it's the kaiju destroying Las Vegas scene completely unfilmed, the miniature Las Vegas Strip has yet to be Okay, I already got into that point. So I already bitched about the point I have written down here.
The villain name stinks. He picks it up a year later. This is where I think the continuity might have been. Mental case finds therapy. He has to do everything in one take because if he breaks it, it's over. Because you only get one shot to destroy the Kaiju City.
Son of a bitch, I do not have continuity. I thought for a fact I was going to have continuity.
I could be early still, because there's more notes coming. No, yeah, it might be, hang on, it's in the next, it's after.
I made a note to myself because I laughed at especially because it's a return to what he was saying about continuity. He couldn't stop saying continuity. Sometimes he pronounced it right in chapter 2.
Yeah, right, I know. That's what's so weird. I'm just laughing at some other things that are on its way. But yeah, that's it for 6B. There was really nothing going on. Actually, this is probably the chapter that made me want to see the movie the most, because he was talking up the special effects pretty well and made it seem like, we did a good job. It's interesting.
I think I have one more movie clip. We'll see, but yeah, it all looks how he says. You can tell it's fake, and that's apparently the way he wanted it, and it's not a cope. Wow, that's where I'm landing. I did come into this book. Did he really want it that way, or is it a cope? I am indeed landing on he wanted it that way. Oh, yes. And also from this chapter, I don't know who the fuck Robin Brockway is, but she was flown from Los Angeles to Philly to help this special effects team out. Another name, James has done this maybe going on a dozen times. I feel like at least 6, where he mentions a person's name with no reference to him before or after, and they're here now.
Yeah, he shouted out the whole crew last chapter. Again,
except for Lindsay.
Loves his list.
What the fuck is wrong with casting director Lindsay? Everyone else got a first and last name shout out. What did Lindsay do to you, you prick? So on to chapter 6.
C.
Take it away, James.
Chapter 6C, Daughter's Birth.
I would retitle this one TMI. Too much information in this book all about you. I am more intimately acquainted with Mrs. Rolfe's vagina than I am with some of my one-night stands.
Yeah, there's a lot of caps in my notes here. Yikes, TMI, fuck, Jesus Christ, fucking shit.
I wanted to skip right over this one because I had prior knowledge that this was a traumatic, difficult birth, and James gives you the fucking play-by-play. This is every single thing you would want to know about a childbirth. It is here, detail for detail, as if it was a boxing match by Howard Cosell giving his play-by-play, or Jim Ross on Monday Night Raw telling you each little detail. Actually, more like baseball on radio, because they need to paint much more of a picture.
We got to the delivery room, and April pushed...
Sorry, I should have introduced that better. I think I laughed out loud at James talking about birthing pain like this.
We got to the delivery room, and April pushed for hours. I'd consider my wife pretty tough, tolerating the pain of tattoos, piercings, stitches, and broken nose before, but the pain of childbirth must be a whole other story.
Angry Bimmy looks good on that.
You serious?
The pain of childbirth must be a whole other story.
He does look really good on Peter Parker. Childbirth is more painful than tattoos. Wow, profound, James.
Yeah, no shit. That's
I push a watermelon through a grape-sized hole, and it's more painful than tattoos? No way.
Yeah, he mentions that he lives in a bubble. He does mention that, and there's no way that I think he could ever fathom how hard it is to push it. Look, I've had hard poops, and I don't even want to imagine. And he mentions his child's 11 pounds. This isn't a small baby. This is a big baby coming out of his wife,
yeah, 11 is a pretty big newborn. James should not have trusted his audience with all of this information. Why did you trust us with all, once there's specifically one thing that happened that is, the language used is very funny to nerd fans, and it's supposed to be deadly serious. Here comes the clip. James, you shouldn't have mentioned this part. Otherwise, people might lampoon it like I do at the end of this clip.
Soon after, they said the baby passed meconium, meaning she took her first shit inside the womb. That's bad. She took her first shit inside the womb. That's bad.
Can I go now?
Dude, Jesus Christ. I was so, it was a lot of information to come in on a childbirth.
And it's very appropriate for the nerd character to have a baby covered in shit and blood and
all the things. Everything's coming out.
Thanks for letting us know at the last minute. Do you call your wife now Scarflap? Is that your nickname for her vagina that you didn't need to tell us about? Old Scarflap down there.
He
Jesus.
didn't exactly say. He said they had to cut her, you know where. And then he got dizzy because blood was spraying all over the place. I passed out. And he had complex emotions.
And here's more of him getting to a topic that he should have simplified. Didn't need to tell us that the baby shit inside of its mother. I've never heard of that before, and
Wait.
it's funny.
Yeah, what hold on, because I need to ask you as a human being, would you even release this to the public? Because neither one of us, I think, have kids. Yeah, I don't think.
I would not. I would say that it was. I would stop. It might get to the point of. Okay, it was bigger than expected. I've had a lot of girls tell me that actually. That's basically the point I would be around. It was traumatic. It was bigger than expected, and we believe that's what caused it to. No, this blow by blow cutting her right in the vag. This baby shitting. No. I stop right there. I might have said blood. I might have stopped short at the shit. That is something that regularly happens with pregnant ladies. Push. Oh, you're pushing. Of course, a poopy happens.
It's This is common, but not commonplace. And both him and his wife, I think, were freaking out. From that minute, like it was a complicated birth.
It's a traumatic story, and yeah, the happiest moment of her life that she's been planning moment for moment, possibly about to be the most traumatic moment of her life. I agree. Included in your book. Oh, good God, the detail he goes into in this chapter. Fuck.
Yeah, all the way up to cutting the umbilical cord. It's pretty. Yeah, it's. And he sort of seemed like he was blaming the doctor.
Yes, I've got one clip before that, and then him blaming the doctor. Let's get to both of those.
Never in my life was I so happy to see someone puke shit.
Again, that's something that I am controlling myself to laugh from of happening to the angry video game nerd. That does sound like the birth of the AVGN himself. If only he would have made the movie after. He could have made that big bloody shitty scene included and shown his birth, and there could have been stakes involved in that. So here, let's get to him blaming the doctor, as you were preferencing.
They weighed her at almost 11 pounds, even though she was estimated at only 9 shortly before the birth. Their failure at predicting it must have been what caused her to get stuck on the way out.
No, that's not how it works.
Failure. No. And this especially rubbed me wrong when James isn't taking full responsibility. He just brushed his movie's failures off on one bad crew member without taking the... When I was like, oh boy, this is actually what I've wanted, is James to be like, I fucked up. Let me tell you about this crew member that fucked up and fucked everyone's day up. You actually just swerved me away from being like, oh, okay, humility. This is something I've wanted to see in James, for him to turn back. Oh, this is also the turn is undefeated. I love this term. I love giving Regal Salvatore. I remember it happening with Patrick Melton in New Jersey, of him turning against him. The turn is happening. And
it's so good.
The turn with James, I would like to turn back if humility were shown. That's part of it, of how we can turn back. But
master blame shifter, dude. He, like you just said, he pushed a lot off on that the prop guy. He pushed a lot off on overpriced special effects locations. He pushes a lot of this off on the doctor, and like Luxurious Llama has mentioned a couple times, evil tongues. They get into a little bit more. They mentioned that they were planning everything. April did everything she could do.
Like
to
she
make
probably
everything
had
go right, because she has
anxiety.
a fear of, yes,
an anxiety attack
freezing
when
a
they were like,
tart.
we need to use tongs. That was something specifically, and this
Yes,
baby is
forceps.
and no tongs. We're gonna use the forceps. Ah!
Yeah, yes, definitely. It is. I wish I had something in like, that sound effect where they go swing, and it's like the over exaggerated metal sound effect. But
I don't have that sound effect, but I do have this one.
Meow.
Same thing. That's it. But like James was like, we did everything we could to take every precaution to have a healthy baby. She quit doing drugs and stopped smoking and drinking and all. He doesn't say all that, but like basically says she went full on Amish to carry this kid, and now everything's in jeopardy because the doctor
she
had
didn't
to
have
yank
caffeine, no coffee, no soda. I remember that in
Like,
there.
yeah, right,
Everything
like
to go
all the-
right. I'm now picturing the conversations that James has had with his wife. Just really, we're our next child, not a single one of those doctors. It's their fault that they didn't know that our precious baby was 11 pounds. And the
That's-
language here, if James would have said the doctor miscalculated rather than they failed, once again, just certain words, like I mentioned earlier with ultimatum, just are triggering to be like, what the fuck?
I have no children of my own, but I've been around women who have had children. That's not that big of an issue, I would imagine. I mean, 2 pounds is a lot, but I think the actual problem is April, and I hate to do this. Fuck.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry.
Are you going with a joke
She-
I think you're going with?
No joke, no, but she just didn't, yeah, gosh, now I'm trying to form one. But she wasn't dilated enough. You know what I mean? Like, some women just don't do that. You need to be at 10 centimeters, you're at 8, that's all we can get. You know what
That
I'm
does
saying?
make
Like,
more sense than the baby being a different weight causing all of this. Just
Well-
naturally more difficult for women. But the joke I was thinking of is that her hymen's never been popped because of James's micro penis, and it was completely unprepared to shoot out a
was a net.
child.
Yeah, that's right. There was just this. It's like, come on! It's like pushing out like the what was that? Nightmare on Elm Street, where like the faces are coming out of the wall. It looks like that. But yeah, dude, they get into some serious. Ugh. But I think that's what it was. I think it was a dilation problem, not the baby was 11 pounds, not 9. And other poopy.
That did seem odd to me, and that does sound like April approved. That's gotten the stamp of it couldn't be her vagina that was the problem. No, everything she did is perfect, and she's perfect, and their child is perfect. Those fucking doctors. God damn it, James. This book is doing a terrible job of making us like April. You were supposed to make us the people who don't like her, and you're doing the opposite of like me. Yeah, so she's a wife, so she has the pants. James gave her the pants. We cover the exact moment he took his pants off and put them on a silver platter for her last episode.
Yeah, she not only took the pants, they're starting to whip people with the belt.
So yeah, I had no problem with her until these last 3 subchapters. James is making me think that she's kind of a twat while trying to tell me what a good person she is.
Some of the other truthers agree with that. I think they've met her in person, and I don't think she does appearances anymore. That's also speculation. I can't be sure.
Yeah, I never had that. I never had anything of an opinion of her until here, until these subchapters, making me think, oh yeah, maybe she is no bueno for the creative process. I didn't think that until these past 3 subchapters, James. It's your fault.
Yeah, no kidding. How much further do you get into the McKids talk here?
That was the last clip I have from C. I'm ready for D if you are. Nobody clip that.
Things... Please don't. Yeah, clip it and ship it. The only other thing, like, it was just like the fear of them having to raise a gimpy armed kid. The baby had to wear a helmet because it had a flat head.
Yeah,
there was all
actually
kinds of stuff. So I'm not going to make too many jokes, but
yeah, that actually did belong in this book, the struggles that she had to get full mobility of her arm. That actually is an inspiring, uplifting story. You told it wrong.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what happened. He made it sound like, he made it sound like he was more afraid that his kid was going to be defective than wanting her to get better. You know what I mean? Like, there was like, it's like, oh no, our baby's broken. Like,
not a single reference to Eraserhead either. I was, the way James was just so panicked about his child, it gave me flashbacks to like, oh, you were going to talk about Eraser. Nope, I thought we were going to get some of that.
I at the end of this, I gave James and Beeprel the I too have empathy, because that's a rough. Yeah, James didn't tell the story right, but that was a rough time for them.
That was a rough time in it for them, and you told it in a way that I'm like, your wife. I don't like her. I had no problem with her before.
She had a complicated pregnancy, and now we don't like her.
How did you turn me against the woman whose dream became a nightmare and almost died along with her child in childbirth? How did you do that, James? That actually is pretty fucking talented.
Yes, yeah. James Rolfe is the only guy that can make you hate baby kittens.
Jonathan Boaz, do you think James's life would have turned out differently if he never would have met April? It would have been basically the same up to the movie, I think. I think that's where she's had the steering wheel since there. So at that point, if James wasn't married, he might not have hit continue on life. Or if he was married, they would have had the steering wheel in another direction. Maybe they would have had him shut it down. I believe up to the movie, basically the same life.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I think he would be living with his dad now. Like currently, like if he didn't ever had a wife and kids, he'd be at home with dad, doing nerd shit. I don't know. They might be doing father-son nerd content. He seemed into it when in that one video I watched where they were at the convention together.
Mentioned so little. His dad, he's mentioned his mom more than his dad, but as much as we got of his childhood, we have no grasp on what type of person either one of them are.
Yeah, they just seem like pretty much cardboard cutout parents. And you and I have made inference to different things. I think his dad was a helicopter dad. So I'm a special little guy. I got to take care of him.
Yeah, we've got to read in between the lines. Who was... well, trying to read between the lines, I made him a drunk who was unemployable for years. I don't know. We're trying to figure out what you're not saying, because there's something you're not saying in here that you don't want to say.
He does do a lot of tiptoeing through trauma, I guess. Or what would be that? Real quick, Kip asked, would it help to go read this book? Maybe. I started having fun after page 150. It's stuff you just don't give a shit about. It's like a so bad it's good or so bad it's bad throughout the first 150 pages. Once we actually get to adult life, it's it picks up. It's actually fun, not for the ways James intended it to be, but let's get to chapter 6D.
Chapter 6D. Where's the movie?
My movie.
Where be the movie?
Unfinished
so
business.
I forgot to mention this last time. He makes reference to American Movie, which came out in the year 2000, and he writes everything in parentheses. American Movie, 2000. And at some point, he just stopped saying it in the audiobook. He got tired of saying it was a couple chapters ago, but that did give me a funny giggle that he would do that for every single movie. James Rolfe versus the Punching Bag, 1991. Animal House, 1978. Whatever the fuck. He didn't even mention Animal House. I feel like I might mention Animal House in my book.
It's a good movie. He did, yeah, just this past subsection or the one before that, I said he mentioned The Blob. And you're right, he didn't mention the year. And I don't know if he means the 1988 the Blob or the actual 1958 Blob, whichever year it was, 59? I don't remember. Now I'm
The
confused.
50s one
Thanks,
or the
James.
80s one? Which one
Yeah.
was it, Bimmy?
Confused me, and now I'm angry.
Well, he gives us a state of the movie at this
Oh,
point.
yes.
It was the summer of 2013. The movie was far from complete. There existed a 2.5-hour edit roughly put together with missing shots everywhere and, of course, no music or sound effects. If you watched it, every time there was supposed to be a special effects shot, you'd see a blank slate that read plane crashes or UFO shoots laser beam or tank falls into pit.
That's a lot of stuff left undone. And this is another wording that rubbed me the wrong way. I guess I didn't take any notes of it. There was also a background actor, a volunteer who was playing an extra who gave him a motivational speech. And James makes reference to that guy here again.
Sure, it may have been nobility or the need to entertain others and inspire them, but also, I must admit, motivation comes from wanting to stand up against the odds. There were people out there who said the movie would never get finished. I wanted to prove them wrong. The last missing shots all fell on me.
So why did a single shot fall on Kevin Finn? Why didn't he have anything to do if you're 50-50 partners? He's just been an absolute parasite this entire time. What is Noble? Yeah, the fan volunteer saying, you know what, you're kind of noble for finishing this movie, for doing this movie, and James wrote it in his book. I'm noble for starting this disastrous project and seeing it to the end. I guess I'm noble then, because this turned out to be a disastrous product that I was like, I don't know if I can finish this.
Sir Dylan is somewhere. You're a knight now. Nobility, you've been raised up. 10 episodes will be finished and have a nice portfolio. Yeah, and he keeps referring to the AVGN videos as web videos now.
Before they were
stopped
movies.
being films.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess when this happened, finally it clicked in him, and he stopped referring to them as movies. I'm not a filmmaker. That's what I feel like, is that he can't call them movies because he isn't a movie maker, and he's exposed himself only to himself. He's still spinning plates on a unicycle behind the scenes, trying to be like, no, folks, just some more time and it'll be done. As far as productions go, this was a failure. Your movie was a year and a half away from completion of you just doing it in your garage and backyard.
Yeah, he would have been better off doing it local and just, shooting it around town in independent film style, instead of trying.
Mm-hmm.
No,
we get to
that's
this
not what he
point
wanted to
every
do, though. He wanted. Oh, go ahead,
every
Jim.
episode. We get to this point. If he was going to do this and make it look good, New York has a film community. Philadelphia isn't that far away. You're Philadelphia based. It's only those two assholes from high school who are like, come to California. Oh, it'll rain, James. You're right. It does rain in Philadelphia. Let's go.
Rain. That was his big excuse, right?
It was
That
his
actually would
big
add-
excuse. Like, that's how you can kind of tell that someone else hammered it into his mind, that he kept repeating it the same way of this being April's dream. That's been hammered into his mind. We've heard that so many times.
Yeah, definitely the family life was for April. That was her dream, to marry a successful man and raise a family. Except she's now stuck with 3 kids.
So we get into this one shot of the dummy. I believe, once again, I have... He talks about doing this for 15 hours, and here's the entirety of it in the movie. This shot he had to rig himself. It was supposed to be done, I guess, the day he was all tied up, because the nerd character is tied up right here, but James was all tied up, and they didn't schedule it well at all.
I felt like some kind of lunatic. I just spent 15 hours on one shot that would last for only a few seconds in the final film. But this was the only way it was possible.
15 hours for that shot.
Last for only a few seconds in the final film. But this was the only way it was possible.
Once again, that
This
was...
is- No, go for it.
that was like a married with children dummy that he's throwing in there. I believe, yes, I've got a screenshot of him rigging that up in his house, dropping
He
the
dropped
the
it.
nerd right there. Yeah, dropping it and then making it look like the alien. This also bugged me. Why the fuck wasn't the jet edited out of your movie if the alien has this flying ability when it opens its mouth up? Why can't you just simplify them flying through the sky of this ability that you made up? So what if you're like, oh, but it didn't work that way in the... Son of a bitch, James.
Yeah, this is where he does talk about continuity again. Because the first part of this scene was shot in LA, and then he had to do it here at home. This stunt part, and he talks about how he couldn't figure out how to do it. I think that is part of his issue, is that he does have trouble figuring his way out of a box, even with a map and flashlight.
And we are, I believe, in 2013, 2014, James was saying. Yeah, 2012 was the original photography, and 2014 is where we went. And James starts to regret all of his life's decisions and wish he had a simpler life.
For the first time in my life, I wondered, why am I doing this? I thought back to all my coworkers at the liquor store who seemed to have no ambition other than to hang out and drink beer. I think I finally saw their point. To live a simple life. That would be easier. And maybe that's the reason why most people don't make movies.
I wanted to beat him.
And he had to throw something on the end like that to make us just laugh and say, most people don't make movies because they have different passions than you. Some people make a good living clubbing baby seals, as they might say in The Naked Gun.
And this is also where he admits that he lives in his self inflated bubble. He's like, I retreated back to my own bubble. He says that. So in his mind, a simple life is easy to him. And I want to know what he thinks a simple life is. What, wake up, take a shower, wipe your ass, go back to bed. Life isn't exactly simple, no matter how easy you try to make it for yourself. Believe me, I have cut as much responsibility out of my own life as I possibly can. And it's still not that, I got shit I got to do.
Yeah.
This
I'm
dude owns a
currently...
house.
I'm about to upgrade my simplicity. I actually kind of did the same thing of shit getting so complicated. We both had the same idea around the late 30s, early 40s of like, fuck all this complicated. Just give me a small little paycheck for little horseshit stuff. And now, it's starting to ramp up again. But yeah, I do get that mindset of both wanting. He just once again did it so poorly of having ambition, but really being jealous of that guy that's just sleeping all day Sunday. Oh, he's doing nothing. That's great.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like, because you make movies, you got a hard knock life. Get the fuck out of here, dude. I almost called him Aaron. James has had every opportunity afforded to him. Even the chat has been saying it. Fans volunteered to help him. Free labor. He had friends out in areas that could have got him, if he wouldn't have relied on Kevin Finn to be a co-director, but somebody who could have got him a actual junior, I don't know what the word, like an assistant director on a better film to help him.
James should have thought of this as learning the real thing, not being the director himself. If you're going to be the lead, you want this to be your first movie and not your movie, he should have been an apprentice to a real director, but nope. Me and my buddies can do it. We had this dream since high school. Yeah. Only a few more clips. I did pull Mountain. It looks like I did indeed forget. I made a note of continuity and didn't fucking pull it. But here is no word of the day. Not a Mountain, but a mountain.
The van and tank also needed to drive on miniature versions of the desert terrain, such as mountains and a crater, the emptied Atari landfill.
Oh, did I
Nice.
do 6E? That was from 6E.
Chapter 6E, The Final Shots.
Yeah,
I
money
forget
shot.
if I did that or not. What do I have notes here? Blah, blah, blah. James doing the nerd reviews and the film. I already mentioned that. I was surprised James needed this shot. Of the mountain. Only a few more clips.
Yeah.
At this point, I've actually said a lot of the points I have in my notes here, so I apologize for reiterating. Some guy named Chris Hillman helped Bimmy build miniatures. Bimmy was impressed. Chris Hillman, another name that just pops up. I wonder if I have a movie clip in this one or not. So let's hear James put over the work of Chris Hillman, whoever the hell that is.
I was really impressed with the attention to detail everybody gave them. Even though it wasn't meant to look that real, it all came out way better than I imagined.
Okay, I didn't put any clips there. I left them on the floor of people running. That's what I forgot to do. People running against a green screen of it looking good. I pulled two of those and I forgot to attach them because that just drives me up a wall. People running on a green screen looks fucking terrible, and he did it for multiple shots.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the things. Even as a child, they would have because it was blue screen. They would have the blue screen behind them, and they would be doing that sideways shot where they're running in place, but it's like out of sync with the background. It just looks so bad. That was one of those things that they tried to do on television so many times. You're just like, ugh, just figure something else out.
I love those 1980s Toonces, the driving cat, where everyone's just bathed in green or blue. Same thing with the WWF on NBC. Everyone is just fucking blue. They hadn't figured that shit out yet.
No, but my first note was of what you just played. Somebody finally got Bimmy to say mountain. So somebody was in this. Somebody did. That's like an investigation for me. I want to find out if
He should have just fired back like Shatner. I don't say mountain. I say Moudin.
Yeah. And so casual like that. That's why Shatner's a G. He'll just tell you, I'm not doing it that way.
For some people who might have missed that, look up Shatner sabotage, or as he says, sabotage. It is absolutely wonderful. He liked to torture the guys in the booth, the commercial people, or the doll people, trying to tell him how to act. Not happening. You're gonna have a bad time.
I like that. That's great. There's a show I'm going to recommend real quick since it's called Toast to London, and it's about a guy who's an actor in London, and he does voiceover work, and the guys in the sound booth are like these hipster, can you give us another yes? And he'll go, yes. And then he's like, one more time. And he's like, and he finally has them shouting yes. And then yes, yeah. Like he just keeps getting them going. It's so funny. It's like
that sounds like the Mr. Show, can I use this chair monologue?
And it's always a setup like The Simpsons too. It'll always be the sound booth and then him in the sound booth having to do something ridiculous. I think they're on there's 4 series out. So all right, anyway.
So I have one more clip. I guess I'll just get to that last. The end of this chapter, I feel like we've all heard the story of Bimmy setting off the fire alarm at 3 a.m. I feel like that was on his channel, and that's well known. Getting one of the last shots, and the new information to me is that he missed the phone call while tending to his wife and child, who were already awake. There's nothing you can do. He wasn't tending to his phone, and they're like, oh, he didn't answer. It's an emergency. Send the fire truck. So the entire neighborhood got up at 3 a.m. So James could make an unrealistic looking missile shot happen. Hate that. I remember that missile shot. I hate it. I didn't pull it.
And this is another mention of his ingenuity. He was taping tripods to the ceilings to get that's what set the smoke alarm off, was a hot lamp that was taped to the ceiling. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. It was the heat. The heat was so intense next to it that the fire alarm was like, oh yeah, that's a fire.
And
he does that to this day. He has the tripods with the lights sitting up there to this day.
He still is doing the same thing. So the fire marshal shows up. He's like, all right, you guys are all right. Let me do a walkthrough. Because I'm here. I have to do a walkthrough. It's same when people say they get swatted. The cops show up. They knock on the door. You have to let them in because they want to be sure that there's nobody bleeding out in the house. And James gets worried that the fire marshal is going to see this fucking
the gaming setup
the clusterfuck of power packs plugged into, because he's been over this too. That is a fire hazard and he knows it. He just let it go.
Yeah, that's just the way that we did it back when I was a child.
Yep.
So I'm just going to continue having all 20 of these game systems up to a single outlet here as an adult, because that's just what we did in the 90s.
Yeah, extension cords and extension cords, power strips and power strips, that kind of thing. And I actually did enjoy this little story because I didn't see this on his channel. And the fire marshal.
He didn't tell this one on his channel. You're right. 2 stories in these subchapters that we enjoyed. Yeah, you get this one. Go ahead.
So the fire marshal comes in. He's checking out the house. I'm guessing everybody's outside now. It's just him and James are walking through the house. And so they're all outside. Like, what the hell, man? Blah, blah, blah. What happened? They get down to the nerd room, and the fire marshal sees the whole thing. It's all up on the wall. You know, there's racks and racks of systems and wires spider-webbed everywhere. And James is nervous because he's like, this dude's going to fucking make me unplug everything. I'm going to have to, you know, I think he's actually worried about having to pay a fine or having, you know, his family in danger. And then the fire marshal goes, is that an Atari 2600? And this is where because I know dudes. And he's like, oh man, I used to have this. So he immediately was like going through James's collection, and they're downstairs bullshitting now. How much time went by in between them seeing all the games and starting talking and April coming downstairs to find out what the fuck's going on? What are you guys doing? Like, they're downstairs talking about, you know, Streets of Rage 2 and blah, blah, blah. And everybody's outside like, what happened? You know, you know what I mean? Like,
it is fun
the
that
fire truck's still out there. Everybody's awake. They're just, you know.
Oh yeah, the lights are still going. They don't turn those off while they're in place.
So, you know what I'm saying? So, like, there's a whole hoopla going outside, and they're downstairs bullshitting about fucking Mario 3. And April comes out, what is going on with you two? So it's like they were just having some good old-fashioned dude talk. And that made me laugh, you know, because it was like, oh, that's exactly what...
It was a fun story, but I think what I would have liked more is if we heard what the room goers were doing at that point. That's really inflated his college years so much by telling us what other people did that he just witnessed and was, oh man. So James wanted the movie done. April wanted the movie done, just like this. In the description, I want this book review done. April does. We all want it done. Take it away, James.
Matei shared my sentiment. We all wanted the movie done.
Say the line, Bart!
We all wanted the movie done.
I decided to go with that one over the Spaceballs doll. But that would fit right in there. Maybe I should make a long compilation of all the phrases that we have from this book for the James Rolfe doll. And that, we all wanted the movie done. Absolutely belongs there.
You know, and I'm surprised he hasn't merchandised something like that. Because those were really popular when I was a kid. Like the pool, they do it on The Simpsons all the Krusty doll. You know, you would pull the string and it would just like play a little bit of tape. I'm pretty sure it was like, it's like literally wrapped around like a magnetic tape. Like it only gets so many plays because I know some of them were just like after a while. It's
my Urkel doll sped up. It was
did
Urkel already had a squeaky voice, but yeah, he was on helium. Got any G's? Did I do that?
those were so cool. I don't know why. They're just so fun. Like it was. I don't know. I guess it was like the equivalent of having a soundboard. You just kind of had a doll that was a soundboard.
Norm Gray Runner. That would be really fun if the fire marshal only got kicked out at 5:40 a.m. Because you got to clear out, guys.
These guys have been memeing the shit out of the chat. It's so good.
Yeah, it's been fun. One more episode. It's going to be next week because my schedule is changing, and I've already took this show along with one schedule change. So let's get this done next week, and even 10 episodes of dissecting this book. 6 more sub chapters to go. This book needed more chapters and no sub chapters. Like the movie production bled over into chapter 6. I don't like this. Be sure to tune in next week at this time, 3 p.m. for the final part. We'll have a blowout. And I keep saying I'm going to get on Rumble. I think I'm going to have a new concept where I'm on YouTube and Rumble and then go exclusively Rumble for the second half for stuff that like the watch along here.
Yeah.
Actually, stay tuned. More stuff happening on the Dylan from Somewhere channel. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you have any suggestions for who else we should cover, there were some people suggesting a Cinemassacre Truth podcast. I would be up to co-host or guest on that sometimes. I don't feel I've got it in me to run a Cinemassacre Truth podcast. If anyone wants to take the bull by the horns there, I'm in to help because this is fun when it's not torturous. So fun going on the Dylan from Somewhere channel, 3 p.m. Eastern next week. And then I think it's going to be 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll finalize that soon. Spurg Snake, Monday night over on your channel. I like the new interactivity. We're playing games, and there was interactivity with Family Feud, but yeah, trying a few games that are legit party games that you'd play with people you know. And we do have a fun little community here in our little part of the internet. Feel like we're getting to know each other better. Anything else you got to plug over on the Spurg Snake channel?
Tuesdays, I think, are going to be a Texas Hold'em poker. Well, I should say table games. Like, it might not just only be Texas Hold'em, but that's what we started with this past week. There's a casino app. I will share it around. It's in my Twitter feed. It's called Vegas Infinite, and you can play for free. It's on PS5, Steam, and all the other things. But it's like a free-to-play Texas, I can blow fake money all night long. If somebody goes all in, I'm going all in. It's not real $4,000. Who cares?
That's the thing. When I'm playing money in person, I need there to be stakes for it to be fun. Even if it's just a prize at the end, or if we're playing for cigarettes, prison style, I need something. Because when you're playing, it's a way to blow the time. Oh, the internet gambling, I did get in on that for a while, but without money, fuck yeah, I'm calling you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And this past Tuesday we played with Open Table, so public people can come in, and I'm inviting the chaos. I like it, and it's kind of neat because a couple of us already know each other, so we can start screwing with somebody who we all don't know. I was hanging out with a gentleman called Mondays Weekly, and he was
yes, I've done shows with
some people
with Mondays Weekly over on Annie's channel. Insanity. What is this game? Insanity with 2 N's because her name is Annie. The play on
words.
words.
I don't have the link.
Yeah.
That's the Cinemassacre Truth subreddit is so good. Those guys are so funny. There's a lot of clever stuff coming out of there. I enjoy scrolling through there on the daily basis. They keep me watching. And
thanks for so many of you Cinemassacre truthers for checking us out and being like, all right, You guys aren't shit. Maybe one of those more expensive type of manures. As Mo said,
Yes.
he can't compete with that. It's been a long time since I've covered DSP Tyson Towson. Let me bring that over here. Tyson. I covered him very first thing on this channel. I covered Darkside Phil, but it's been a long time since I went down that rabbit hole. I could
Same.
I could dabble in that rabbit hole again. No real rabbit holes though. I don't want to end up like Mr. Hands.
And yeah, I think that's it. I think, yeah, Monday, Tuesday nights are going to be a new thing. Monday, regular game night. Tuesday, gambling. And I kind of laid off the music streams because it was just like too much of a gamble.
Mm-hmm. You might get your channel taken away one of these days when you hit the wrong song. So check us out for more of that. We've got one more episode of this. Thanks for the folks that have come along. And the Cinemasker podcast. That's also something that I've thought about. I don't think I could do the whole run. Maybe every now and then, just a full episode, a listen along, or I'll do it Carl WATP style of the Cinemasker podcast. I might dabble in that. Thanks for giving us a chance and bullshitting with us here. We're going to get on out of here, so thanks for joining. You can now go away.
Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. It's fun being with friends. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye for now.
Toodaloo. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao. Ding dao day.
Places all. All join hands, circle left. Now circle right and listen to me. LS, MFT. Elementary corners like swinging on a gate. To right to your honey with the right to left date. Grand right and left around you go. Lucky strike means fine tobacco. Meet your honey and give her a whirl. All swing around with the little girls. Smoke 'em, then you'll see. LS, MFT. Promenade and don't you fall. Promenade around the hall. Lucky strike is first again with tobacco men. Promenade straight down the pike. It's time right now for a lucky strike. Yes, for smoking that you're bound to like, you just can't beat a lucky strike.